Well, good evening to everybody out there on Facebook, YouTube. I am Blair Nightingale, your host for Stock Talk Thursdays. If you've been here, you know me. If you're new, we do this every Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Facebook, right here on YouTube. Stock Talk Thursday is about whether something is hot or not. I want to help break down what is happening in stocks, and we're going to pick some specific things to go after each different week that will help you understand what is going on and is it hot or is it not. Now, we normally take some time on here. We take a specific stock, we take a specific company, or potentially a couple of weeks ago, we looked at tech stocks in particular, okay? I want to give you guys a very simple tool today to know what is hot and what is not. And listen, this is a really helpful tool because you and I are going to keep coming on here in weeks to come. There's lots of interesting stuff happening in the markets right now. Why is it interesting? Well, I like this stuff anyway, but why is it useful? Who has time to sit around and go over all the market news out there? Right here, we're going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to go over it for you, break it down, make it simple. That's the point. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on, but I want to do two things tonight. Number one, you may have noticed that the stock market dropped today. Okay? The stock market has been dropping for multiple days. In fact, it's dropped to some levels we haven't seen in a while. So what is going on? That I want to talk about tonight because the market right now is not really very hot, at least not in the short term. In the long term, it has been very hot, and I'm going to suggest tonight it actually may be a little too hot. You say, I didn't know the market could be too hot. Well, if other traders on Wall Street start saying, I think this is too hot, then what happens? They start to sell stocks. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a very simple tool before we finish tonight. In fact, I'm going to show it to you. You already have access to this. You just didn't know it was there. So I'm going to pull that up for you. I'm going to show that to you tonight as well. And it's going to help you know at any point what's hot, what is not. This is not a scan. It's not a scam. It's just data. It's just numbers done for you. So I look forward to getting into that. My friends are already popping comments into the comments section here. Susan, tagging a couple of people. I love that. If you know somebody who's going to want to watch this, never seen this, maybe they're nervous about what's going on, maybe they're just interested in knowing more, you can tag them in the comments. Let them know where we're at, what we're doing here. Jeffrey, I see you there. Jeffrey, you know, if Jeffrey was a boxer, he'd be Jeffrey the Weatherman Venable. That's what I would say he is. I could come up with something a little better if I gave myself some more time. But he's always letting us know how it's going out there. Having a heat wave in Colorado. Yeah, I know. Just a steamy 36 degrees now. Benjamin, I see you there. The Edwards family. I like that. I like you got the family banner in there for your YouTube. Hi, everybody. Well, welcome to everybody on there. I'm welcoming the friends who join us. We've got some new faces in there as well. If you want to give us a shout out at any point in the broadcast, go ahead and do that. Listen, I want to say this quick. I've said this to two groups of students. Okay, these are Tradeway community students. They are in one of the Tradeway programs, and I was involved with a lot of different broadcasts today that we do inside Tradeway in our program, helping students manage their own finances. Getting breakthrough and victory and achieving their goals in their finances is what we do. I said to them, you know, when I started as a trader, which by the way, I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. Jared Russell and I talked about this last week in the 5-day Faith and Finance Challenge. Both of us walked in to an introductory event for Tradeway knowing zero. Some of you out there have disqualified yourselves from seeing breakthrough because you think you don't know enough. Well, that's where we're here to help you with. What if Jared and I had never walked in? So that said, I knew nothing. So ultimately, we were talking about this, and I was saying, when I started, I had somebody that I knew at Tradeway. All right, that's just how the circumstances went for me. I knew somebody who worked for Tradeway and knew how to trade stocks. Now, this is 6+ years ago. We didn't do all this stuff online back then. And I remember thinking, first of all, thank you, Lord, for the grace and the favor that I have in my life right now to know somebody who can sit next to me on the couch who knows what he's doing. And I had an awareness that I was growing tremendously quickly in comparison to how I would have been if I had not had that. Now, that's just a fact. What's cool about that, though, is now this helps us do exactly what I was giving God thanks for at that point. We get to do that right here. So a huge part of this is always asking questions. It's always asking questions. Sometimes we don't get the most out of the opportunities we have because we don't understand the opportunities that are in front of us. You and I get to talk back and forth for the next 30 to 45 minutes about stocks. And that's what we're here to do. So don't be shy. Drop your name in the comments. Let me know who you are. And let me know if you have any questions. Jeffrey, happy face. Susan is tagging folks like it's going out of style. And I love it. Kelly, you're on here. I love that. Kelly Dunn. Get her done, Kelly. I like this too. Susan, this might be really interesting to follow. Tagging it in there. Mentoring through technology. Hey, if you've ever heard my keys to breakthrough, I'm going to talk more about this in the future, not necessarily on this Thursday broadcast. Does it feel like some people just seem to get more breakthrough than other people? Maybe we've just said, well, that's because they, and if I had, and well, I can't, well, it's maybe luck. Oh, maybe that's just sovereignty. Pushing some buttons. By the way, I believe in the sovereignty of God. People get breakthrough for a lot of reasons, but we can increase how and why we get breakthrough. Making an investment right here because you're interested in knowing more, that's going to invest in a breakthrough. Kelly says mentoring through technology. One of my fundamental keys to breakthrough in anything is to get a mentor. Some form of mentorship. There are different levels of mentorship. Absolutely. This is one of them. Especially since this is not a video series. You and I get to be here. It's live from New York. It's Saturday night. Although I'm not in New York. Live from Texas. It's Thursday afternoon. Okay. We get to interact with each other. And that is not the lowest level of mentorship. Passively watching videos. It's higher. Again, I'm really hitting on this today. I work with a lot of students. I love questions. This is so great. So that is a good point from Kelly. You want a breakthrough, man? Get a mentor. Somebody who's at where you want to go. Fired up today. Susan. Mario. Hey, he says Mario Rodriguez here. Good to see him again, Mario. Good to see you again. Just entered our first call position today on Ford, thus exciting and fun learning to trade. Excellent. So we're getting activated. We're getting active. We're getting some input. Hey, guys. Okay. That's starting the fire for where we're going today, but I want to focus on the reason that we're here. Stock Talk Thursday is all about what's hot and what's not. And so I'm going to take us into the market Thursday afternoon live. That's right, man. Hey, somebody said we don't have energy. We generate it. We like to say we have it. We don't have it. We generate it. The body generates it. I mean, even on a physical level, we don't just have it. We generate it. So if we can come together and generate some energy for the things that matter to us, I say that's a pretty good time. That's a pretty good time, in my opinion. I am going to share with you guys so we can look at what's going on. Now, we do a pretty comprehensive deep dive into some things when we're looking at this screen that y'all are seeing right now. Now, we've gone over charts. If you are not joining us on Market Mondays, Same time, same channel, different day. Monday afternoon, Market Mondays. Then you're missing some extremely helpful free material. How many out there would believe me if I said, sometimes the danger of doing something for free is that people don't actually really value, not everybody, but there are a lot of us that don't actually value something if it's free. Because if it's free, it must not be worth much. That's the thinking. How many would say that that's maybe a mindset that people have? Right? Comments come in kind of slow. So if you're commenting right now, I'm with you. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Okay? We want to make an investment in you and let you know who we are. We want to help you navigate these things. We do these broadcasts. In fact, we do one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now. You'll see me on Mondays and Thursdays. We're also doing a Tip Tuesday and a Word Wednesday, and I will actually be hosting the Word Wednesday next week. And if you've not been with me on one of those before, now Jeffrey Nance, our resident pastor, is holding it down strong on the Word Wednesday. We used to do Wisdom Wednesday. I'm going to be on there next Wednesday. And I was in the 5-day challenge last week, y'all. And I got fired up. I got fired up because I'm trying to fire you up. And if you were in that challenge, free challenge, 5 days. I like to preach. So I don't know. I might get my preach on Wednesday. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. So we are on here. I'm saying to you, I'm going for it today. On Mondays, you're getting a lot of stuff. We're covering a lot of ground, okay? And it's absolutely free to you. So we can only receive deeply from that which we value deeply, right? If we don't have a value or honor for something, we can't receive from it. And we've covered a lot of ground that I'm going to just send you to Market Monday recordings, because if you're looking at this chart, and here's my whole point, and you go, whoa, I don't even know what we're looking at here. We've covered a lot of this. So what you're looking at is a stock chart. This is the market. Each one of these candlesticks, you say, what's a candlestick? That's something we've looked at on Market Mondays as well. But basically said, this is a representation of each trading day in the market. Each one of these candlesticks represents a single day in the market. Well, what do we have? Pretty simple visualization here. Green is up, red is down, okay? And we've got some big down days here, okay? In fact, what we're trying to always do is look for patterns. Now, we teach a lot of different patterns to learn to look for. They were always in front of my eyes when I looked at a chart, but I hadn't been trained to find them, so I couldn't actually use them to my advantage. We teach people how to see the pattern so that they can navigate the pattern. And what we see here is a pattern, and we've talked about this specific pattern as well. Well, what's the problem today? Well, the market actually broke outside the pattern. I'm going to give you two straight and simple tips for noticing some really important things on this chart. Tips to help you understand what is happening. Number one, we draw support and resistance on a pattern. Today, we broke through support. What happens? What is support, right? It's essentially the floor. It's the floor, right? That's what's going to hold us up. If I'm on the second story, the second floor, that's even more important. The higher up I'm going, I need a good solid floor, right? We wouldn't want to walk on a floor. I'm in an old building. This upstairs floor, not a lot of integrity there. We don't go upstairs. So the floor breaks. That's what happened today. That's what happened today. The floor broke. So now we're in an interesting place, okay? Number one, a second thing I want you to realize, Jeffrey's seen me do this a few times today. Let's see. I can't find my tools on here for some reason. What if you knew what I just did there? What if you knew what I just did there and how all week long, this week and the end of last week, and there's some people on the broadcast today who can attest to this. I don't have a magic 8-ball. I don't have a crystal ball. I had no way of knowing the future. If anybody tells you that when they're teaching you stock trading, it's not true. It's not true. Highly questionable at that point in time. Now, that doesn't mean they can't have an anticipation of what's going to happen or a higher probability of something happening over something else. And that's what happened here. So we broke the floor. As soon as I saw that, hey, listen, if somebody is out there is going, hey, I'm going to buy stocks tomorrow, I'm going, yikes. Because I know some information that is really important. We broke the floor. So where's the next floor? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. The floor that's been holding us up didn't hold us up today for the first time since November. So where are we going? Well, we have some thoughts of where we're going based on where the next floor might be. But the floor we've been using, it failed today, convincingly. And the ceiling, we had a slope that was a ceiling from the left to the right was going up. But what started happening here? The ceiling wasn't sloped this way anymore. It became sloped the other way. And every time the market came back up, it came up lower than the time before it. What did that tell us? One of my colleagues used to talk about one of his little babies. I suppose he was probably 3 or 4 years old. And man, he would just get energy you know how kids can be, right? They would just go, 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 go. But he'd start to notice the speed. And he tells this great story, but I'll keep it short tonight. The speed would just start to slow. And he knew he'd seen it enough times. Oh, it's about to happen. Well, what's about to happen? Well, sure enough, within 30 minutes, the boy is not running slow anymore. He's passed out on the living room floor, right? He burned the candle at both ends and he's toast. You say, Blair, we're talking about the stock market here. Are you saying the stock market is toast? No. But what I just showed you is how I notice when the stock market is getting tired. It's something that I've been telling people today all day, that if we start to see that, then there's some things we can start to put in place. This is what we help our people learn how to do. It's a signal. It's a signal. And when you learn the signals, this is not guesswork. This is not prediction. I've said this 100 times, that trading is never guessing, gambling, or going for it. That's not trading. You can make money doing any of those things. Theoretically, right? You can go to a casino and make money. You can make money on a slot machine, but that's not trading. And it's not reliable, predictable, and repeatable. And what good is this to you if it's not repeatable? We're trying to give you a skill set that puts you in the driver's seat and makes these actions repeatable. Okay? That's the idea here. So this is a signal, 2 signals that I just said. I said tips, and really those tips are signals. And we talked about bulls and bears on Market Monday a few weeks back. The bulls push the stocks up. The bears push the stocks down. Bulls have been in control. Right now, bulls not in control. Bears are in control. And that's why for Stock Talk Thursday tonight, the market, hot or not, I say not. It's not. Now, the economy and the market over the last 12 months, maybe you could say 10 months, overall, let me show you this. I feel like I show you guys this every time. I would say pretty hot. Pretty hot. This isn't the end of the world. Okay? I keep the big picture in mind. But right now, for a trader, no, it's not hot. It's not hot. And unless you have special skill sets, we do teach at Tradeway, then when the market is falling, we're on the sidelines, right? If you have the skill sets to not be on the sidelines, I'm not talking about shorting stocks, something we do with options, then you can potentially look for some opportunities in the next few days. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow, of course. But without that, we're on the sidelines because it's not hot. And I think that's really important for people to know. One, there's an indicator there that helped us prepare and be defensive for what happened today. And number two, with what happened today, we can take a step back and say, hey, you know what one of the greatest tools for you and I as retail traders is? This is literally one of the greatest tools that you and I have, and it costs us no time. It costs us no energy. It costs us no money. Nothing. The only thing it might cost us is that we got to pay a little bit of patience. And that is, we don't have to trade when we don't want to. We don't have to do a thing if we don't want to. We can only put money in the market when we good and well feel like it. That is one of our greatest edges. I'm reading your comment, Lori. I don't think it's been officially called a squirrel yet, but it looks that way to me. Well, we've closed outside the lines. If you caught our broadcast on bulls, bears, and squirrels, then you know what Lori is talking about. The bullish market when it's moving up, the bearish market when it's going down, the squirrelish market when we don't know who's going to be in control. So we may be getting into that squirrely season where people at Tradeway get what we call a squirrel market alert. And that means most of our people are not trading during that time. It's times of transition. Part of what I'm helping you see tonight is that transition. Lori says, what about those stocks that are going against the grain? What about stocks that may still be doing well? That is going to take us into the next section of what I want to talk about tonight. But I want to say this first as we wrap up looking at this chart. What is ultimately happening? I don't like to get too caught up in news, and I don't want to bog everybody down with a lot of market news. There's a lot of market news out there, but you may see a little bit of talk about interest rates, what we call the Fed, some of these things that are essentially saying this. I'm going to make this very simple for you tonight to understand. Ultimately, the economy gets real hot. And when it gets real hot, the market tends to go up as well. Well, what happened? Well, the market was really hot because our economy was really hot pre-COVID. Okay, record-breaking economic conditions. That's what we had. Bam, COVID hit. Okay, COVID hit, and then it tanked. But then what did we do? Well, we did a few things. We made interest rates zero. Borrowing money became extremely cheap for banks, and so all that kind of stuff. I don't want to go too far into that, but it ultimately became very easy to move money. They also had a lot. We've had multiple, 3 now, stimulus bills almost, where trillions of dollars are being pumped into the economy. Okay. So what happens when the economy starts to open up? What happens when a smoking hot economy gets past the lockdowns, right? And is moving, and Americans are shopping and getting out and going back to work. And it's not normal yet. And we're not really quite sure what that means anymore, but it's normalizing on some level. Okay. Different parts of the country are having a different experience with that, but we are moving forward. So those preconditions, how much of that is going to be revived just because you and I are getting back to normal? Plus we've got interest rates. Plus we've got really a lot of excitement in stocks in the stock market. Stocks have been exploding. Plus we've got trillions of dollars of stimulus, and we've got $1.9 trillion bill still on the table. On top of, get this, the last COVID bill, still $1 trillion of that bill has not been spent. Now, I'm not going to go political tonight, but $1 trillion of that has not been spent. We got another one on the table. So that's a lot of money. So it'd be interesting to hear what's happening in the market right now. I said I was going to break it down for you really simple. Investors are spooked that things are getting too hot, right? Things are expanding too quickly, too fast, too hot. And that means they are, and I talked about this on Stock Talk Thursday last week, rotating out of some of the heavily weighted tech stocks and things like that, and they're going into some other stocks. That's pulling the indexes down, and they're also taking money out. They're taking profits on things. They're cooling off a little because maybe the market is too hot, and that's a risk for them to take if they stay in. So we're seeing that happen. Now, we've got some economic implications for you and I if things do get too hot, and perhaps we talk about that at another point. I would just say this, I caution unyielding support for constant stimulus because there are economic ramifications for some of the things that we're doing with those bills. I'm not trying to make a political statement. I think I'm making a straightforward economic statement. So Jeffrey says we're having a heat wave. Yeah, we've had this heat wave for a while, right? It's an interesting thing, isn't it, to think, well, wait a second. What do you mean the economy's too hot? Well, there's something called inflation. Again, this is beyond the scope of tonight, but inflation can begin to happen and it can begin to get out of control. And that's not something that we want to see. And that changes the conditions. But that is ultimately why the market is going down. Okay, that is a big part of it. Why are they selling stocks? Why aren't they continuing to buy? Because perhaps the risks are too high right now. We need to see some things get under control. We got another $1.9 trillion on the table, and we'll see how they respond to that. So tonight, definitively, I am going to say S&P Stock Talk Thursday. Is the market hot? Right now, it is not. It is not. It is not hot tonight. Okay. So what about those stocks that are going against the grain? Certainly there are some out there, but I said that's going to give us a good transition to the next thing. Remember I said there's a tool I want to give you tonight. It's always been there. You just didn't know about it. Tonight you're going to know about it because you want to know what's hot. You want to know what's not. I don't want to get into anything. I don't want to follow anything. I don't want to spend money on anything. I don't want to spend time on anything that's not hot. So how do I know? I talked to you guys about the XLK. I mentioned that. If you've been with us previously on Stock Talk Thursday, you saw when we talked about tech stocks. What's a real simple way I can come in here and look at tech stocks? I can just type in my charting software here, which, by the way, very easy to get, very easy to set up. That's something we help you do. But having charting software is important because it helps us go in and actually look at the things I'm showing you tonight. We've also talked about that on Market Mondays. What do I need to set up my stock trading business at home? We've talked about that. Very valuable information. You can go back and watch that broadcast. Right here, we've got what I referred to as, this is the ticker symbol, the letters we type in to find this chart, the XLK. This is an overview of the energy, not the energy, we're going to look at that, the technology sector in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is an index that shows us, think of the dashboard on your car, or perhaps even in a plane, right? There's all kinds of instruments. Well, the S&P 500 is a very simplified instrument that helps us get a good broad view of the information that we need to know. Are most areas of the economy today, as far as stocks are concerned, are they going up or are they going down? And that's the chart we were just looking at. It's very good to know that because the principle is true that rising tides tend to raise all boats. I don't want to buy stocks when they're going down overall. It's a headwind. Now, as Lori's question pointed out, what about some of the stocks that are going up when the market as a whole is going down? That is true. That happens. How can I know what those are? How can I know where they are? Here's a very simple tool. I'm going to go ahead and I'll, if I can. XLK, very interesting, Jeffrey. XLK looks a lot like, there it is. I can do it. Sometimes I can't comment on here, you guys, but I did it. It's a very long link. But I'm going to show you this to you in a second, but there's the link for you so you have it and you know where to find it. It's saying on Facebook there's an error occurred for the link. I'll try it again in a second, so you guys may not see it just yet. That said, I'm going to come back to that comment there, Jeffrey. Here's the site, okay? The S&P 500 is broken up, okay, into different sectors. We talked about technology, okay? What about energy? Well, there's a sector for that. Energy. What about energy stocks? What about financials? Okay, I could go right through here. Healthcare, communication services. You say, I don't really know what that means. Well, let's go ahead and click on communication services. And I can scroll down and I can see what is actually in this. Ooh, look at Facebook. Okay, this is in that sector. Twitter, Google, Activision. This is a gaming company. Disney. Okay, so this is a big one. So that's communication services. So what can I do here? I want to keep this simple, right? I love how this site just gives these visuals. You can go deep on this website in terms of different metrics and things like that. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't do that. And in our trading system, you don't need to do that. Okay. We're not talking about long-term buy and hold investing. I'm much less, not completely uninterested, but much less interested in understanding the fundamentals in a company because I'm not going to hold the stock that long anyway. Our system is going to teach you when to get in and when to get out. And typically that is not going to be long enough where a lot of those financials come into play anyway. If you were doing a long-term buy and hold scenario, that's going to be a much bigger part of the process for you. This is trading, and that is a different skill set. That said, let's just go down here. Okay, sector tracker. Okay, that's the tool I'm on right now. This is right on the main page. Okay, this is going to tell us, well, the whole index as a whole right there, right? That's how it performed, but it's going to tell us all of the other sectors. Which ones did well, which ones didn't, which ones did worst, which ones did best. What did I say at the top of the broadcast? I want to give you a simple tool so you have some idea of what's hot and what's not. Would it be helpful if perhaps you were looking at specific trades? Now, we have a whole criteria that we give you. It's very simple. It comes down to the floor and the ceiling that I talked about earlier. But we give you that criteria so that you can decide what's hot and what's not. But wouldn't it be nice to know, hey, is my stock that I'm looking at, is it in an industry, or in this case, a sector that is hot? Or perhaps it's in one that's not. And then what does that mean for me? Well, here is a very simple tool. You guys can see based on the screen. I'm just going to make sure you guys can see this, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I just had that thought. Thank you for saying that, Jeffrey. When I share screens on Zoom, which is what we use here at Tradeway quite a bit, it will switch over with me. I apologize, guys. Let's go ahead and do that. You're wondering, what is he talking about? So here's the website, okay? This software doesn't switch over. Making sure you guys can see that. I'm pretty sure you can there, okay? So what do we got here? Very basic visual, right? I mentioned this earlier. There's the XLK. That's what we looked at. Now, we looked at the chart, so we get to go deeper with that. That's what we teach you how to do. But here you can look specifically, estimate weight of the XLK components in the S&P 500, right? 20 approximately, right? This is an estimate, so just keep that in mind, but it's close. That's how much technology is weighed into the S&P index. Now, I talked last week about tech stocks, when they go down, guess what? That's 26.74 approximately so percent of the weight in that index. So if tech stocks fall, it's going to have more of a visual impact on what the market is doing than, say, utilities, which are 2.5%. Now, I talked more about why that matters last week, broke it down for you to understand how and why tech stocks have such an impact on the market. But here's what I want you to get tonight. Very simple. And I said it, unfortunately, you just couldn't see it because I didn't have it up on the screen yet. Here are all the sectors. Very helpful to go in here and be able to just look at them, right? You can look at them there, but look at this tool right here. And this is what I was describing. Sector Tracker. It's right on the main page. This is a free resource. This is not a Tradeway product, okay? You can go on here, look at the whole of all of these sectors, and you can immediately, in a quick, easy visual, this is for the day, right? You can go in and you can change the settings. This is just telling us today what did well, what's doing well. So Lori's question, great question. What about the ones that are doing better than the market is doing right now? Well, okay, what's the hard part about that? Well, how do you know? How do you know which ones are doing well? Now, I have some things that I would say about buying stocks when the market's going down, even if they're doing well. You can do that. You just have to know how to manage some of the unique risks of doing that. Okay, remember the trader's job is not to chase profits, but to manage risk. Someone said, amateurs chase profits, professionals manage risk. You and I say, well, Blair, I don't know if I'm a professional. That may not be, you may not see yourself that way, but when you're going and you're going to trade and you're going to set up your at-home business, what's your goal? Ultimately, your goal is to be profitable. So is mine. So I ought to trade like those who are pros, even if I don't yet consider myself a pro. And I can tell you that number one for them is they don't chase profits. They manage risk. They manage risk. So that said, here's a very simple visual. And you can see on the screen right now, energy, as I like to say, energy crushed today. Look at everything else. Everything else down. Energy up almost 2.5%. Instantly, I go, oh, most of this is not hot today. The whole market, not just little sectors, the whole market was down. Some less than others, but everything except energy, which has been very hot. Energy has been very hot. You can go in here, you can click on the tracker. This is the tool I was just showing you. Remember I said that's showing you 1 day of time. That helps us know what's happening today to make more informed decisions. Remember I said, hey, let's say you're looking at a stock and you're going, well, how is the sector of this particular stock, right? There's a little tool right up here at the top. You could just type in the company name or the ticker symbol if you know it, right? As you do this for a little while, you just start to get to know them. There is page after page after page of all the stocks that are in the S&P 500. But we could go and just go ahead and click on communication where we were before. And there they are all right there, right? We can see all these stocks. But I can also go, well, show me what's been really hot over 3 months. Whoa, interesting. The last 3 months, energy, 30%. You think maybe if I had that kind of information, now I wouldn't just go out and throw darts at a board and buy any energy stock. That's not trading. That's not what we do. But that might be an area you want to focus in a little bit more. You think maybe that might be a piece of information that you've got tonight on this broadcast that helps you quickly, visually narrow it down. And all you got to do is click on that. And then all these stocks will pop right up. Okay? So that is an extremely helpful tool. Time to drill, says Jeffrey. That's an extremely helpful tool. I'm going to stop the screen share now. For you and I to have to know how to find something hot or not real quick. And that is why I think tonight, I'm sorry guys, I know that link hasn't gone through on Facebook. I'm going to try it one more time here. Sectorspider.com. That's SECTOR. It looks like it went this time. It looks like it went this time. I don't know why the link is so long. It is. That's an extremely useful tool for us to be able to have. It is not my primary tool. My primary tool is the chart I showed you and the skill set I have to decide where's the floor, where's the ceiling, and what do I do in between. That's the skill set. But as I mentioned already, that's a pretty helpful layer, I would say, to know how to find that. I can see some of you guys are commenting that you've got the link. So there you go. Stock Talk Thursday, hot or not? Market right now, not hot. But what is hot, easy for you to see, that website. Great resource, tons of other stuff on there. I will leave it to you to explore as much as you like to on that website, but there's some very helpful information there. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Remember, we are here every Thursday doing the same thing. Hey, if you know somebody else who wants to know this information, needs to know this information, you feel like, hey, they're going to actually honor this. They're going to plant it in the ground. They're going to do something with it. Go ahead, tag their name in the comments. Send this over to them. If you haven't yet, click the bell on YouTube. You will subscribe to the channel anytime we do anything. It's going to let you know where we're at and when we're going live. Facebook, you just got to like us, and you'll get the information from us on Facebook as well. Want you guys to be plugged in. Don't miss anything. Listen, this is the last thing I'm going to say tonight. What's the purpose here? Ultimately, the purpose isn't to hear Blair Nightingale come on here and talk for 40 minutes. What I want to see is this translate for you into action. I want you to feel more powerful. If you have a financial advisor, if you're wanting to start your own trading business, right? This is the foundation to help you do that. So when we jump off here, I'm going to pop something in the link there. For those of you that are interested in moving forward and you want to learn more, there's opportunities for you. Right on over to tradeway.com. That's simply tradeway.com. Right on the main page there. We've got live events. They're online coming up. It's our foundational step one event to help you know the system. It's the same event that myself and Jared Russell walked into, for him almost 11 years ago now, for me 6.5 years ago, and we knew zero, and look at where we are now. That's what I want for you guys. That's what this is meant to do. Tradeway.com, right on the main page. Step one, start your journey. This session has ended, but the journey, as I always say, is just beginning. So we'll see you guys there, and we'll be back on Monday. Thanks so much for being on here, everybody. Have yourself a great weekend, and